Welcome to The Real Debrief, the show where we dive deep into the world of film production, exploring the genres you love, the projects making waves, and the trends shaping the industry. We're here to give you a 360-degree review for entertainment professionals. So grab your popcorn and get ready for some expert insights. And, well, the occasional bed joke from Talen. It's The Real Debrief. Now your hosts, Talen and Lisa.
Hey everyone, welcome back to the show. I'm Talen, and as always, I'm here with my wonderful co-host, Lisa.
Hey, Talen. Hey everyone. I'm so excited for today's episode because we're diving into a documentary that really surprised me, in the best way. Today we're talking about Will and Harper, the Netflix documentary directed by Josh Greenbaum. On the surface, it's a road movie featuring two old friends, Will Ferrell and Harper Steele, traveling across America. But it's so much more than that. There are layers of humor, identity, and raw exploration of what it means to be seen in America today.
Absolutely. I mean, Will and Harper really took me by surprise, too. I mean, we're used to seeing Will Ferrell in these big, larger-than-life comedy roles, right? But here it's like a completely different side of him. And paired with Harper Steele, who's navigating her own personal journey as a trans woman, the film becomes this powerful, thought-provoking exploration of friendship and identity. It's not just about two people on a road trip, it's about how we see each other, how we connect, and what it means to exist in different spaces in America.
Exactly. And the fact that this is a documentary just adds to the authenticity. You're watching real-life friends who clearly have a deep bond, navigate not just physical landscapes, but emotional and social landscapes as well. There's humor, of course. How could there not be with Will Ferrell involved? But there are also some really poignant reflective moments that caught me off guard.
Yeah, and I think that's what makes Will and Harper stand out. It's easy to see the film as just another road movie, but the dynamics between Will and Harper really elevated into something much deeper. I mean, they've been friends for decades, since their time on Saturday Night Live, and that comfort, that history, allows them to have conversations that aren't surface level. I mean, they go deep, especially about Harper's transition and what it means to her. And of course, there's the added layer of Will being a celebrity who can't hide, and Harper navigating the world as a trans woman who's now hyper visible in her own way.
That's a really interesting contrast the film highlights, this idea of visibility. Will Ferrell is instantly recognizable wherever they go, and people treat him like a celebrity, often with warmth and excitement. But for Harper, her visibility comes with a different set of challenges. As a trans woman, she's navigating spaces that aren't always welcoming, and the documentary doesn't shy away from those moments of tension. It's this fascinating dynamic between two friends who, in their own ways, are grappling with being seen by the world.
Yeah, exactly. And what's so powerful about Will and Harper is how these two types of visibilities play off each other. Oh, there's this great scene where they're at this roadside diner in a fairly conservative part of the country. Will, of course, gets recognized immediately. People are excited, they want pictures, autographs, yada, 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 just the whole deal. And Harper's there too, experiencing a completely different kind of attention. Some people are curious, others are wary. I mean, you can see the wheels turning in their heads, trying to figure out how to react to her presence. It's just such a stark contrast. And it really drives home how different their experiences are, even though they're sharing the same space.
Yeah, that scene stuck with me too. There's this moment where a group of locals approaches Will, laughing and quoting lines from his movies, and Harper kind of fades into the background watching it all unfold. It's a subtle moment, but you can see the mix of emotions on her face. There's happiness for her friend, but also this reminder that she's not received in the same way. It's almost like Will's celebrity creates a buffer for him, while Harper's transition has made her more vulnerable.
That's such a good point, Lisa. I mean, Will's fame allows him to walk into almost any room and be welcome with open arms. People know him, they feel like they've seen him a million times. But for Harper, she's walking into these spaces with a completely different history. In one scene, she even talks about how traveling across the country as a trans woman is a completely new experience for her. She had done road trips before when she was still presenting as a man, but this time everything feels different. Like there's a level of unpredictability, of vulnerability that wasn't there before.
And the unpredictability is something the documentary captures so well. You can feel the tension in certain scenes, especially when they're in more conservative rural areas. There are moments where Harper and Will have real, candid conversations about the fears and anxiety Harper feels being in these spaces, and Will, in his own way, tries to be there for her, even though he can't fully understand what she's going through. There's this beautiful dynamic where you see Will grappling with how best to support his friend.
Right, and that's one of the things I loved most about the documentary. It doesn't shy away from the hard questions. I mean, there's this moment where Will asks Harper a very direct, very honest question about her experience as a trans woman, and you can tell that he's genuinely trying to understand. It's not polished or rehearsed, it's real, and it shows the kind of trust and comfort these two friends have with each other.
Yes, and what's even more impressive is that Harper doesn't hold back in her responses. She's candid and open about her experiences, both the joys and the challenges. There's this one conversation they have about the idea of passing as a woman, and Harper talks about how complicated and loaded that term is. She doesn't just give a surface-level answer. She really dives into the nuances of her experience. And it's such an important moment because you can tell that Will is learning from her in real time. And by extension, so are we as the audience.
Yeah, I loved that conversation. Harper talks about how in some ways she doesn't want to pass as a woman, but at the same time she doesn't want that to be the only marker of her identity. She's a trans woman, and that's an important part of who she is. She doesn't want to erase that part of herself just to fit into society's expectations. And Will listens, like really listens. He doesn't interrupt or try to shift the conversation. He just lets her speak, and you can see the wheels turning in his head as he processes what she's saying.
It's such a powerful moment of allyship, too, because Will's presence in the film is more than just being the famous friend. He's actively trying to understand Harper's experience, and in doing so, he's modeling how others can do the same. There's this sense that Will is learning right along with the audience. He's not positioning himself as an expert or a guide. He's just a friend trying to be there for someone he cares about. And that's a really beautiful thing to witness.
Yes. And I think that's why Will and Harper resonates so deeply. It's not just a road movie. It's a journey of understanding, of learning how to be a better friend and a better ally and a better human being. Because it's framed as a road trip. You get these moments of levity and humor that break up the heavier conversations. There's this one scene where Will and Harper end up at a racetrack, and it's just pure comedy. I mean, they're completely out of their element, but they're having fun, and you can see how much they enjoy being around each other.
Oh my gosh, that racetrack scene was hilarious. It's such a classic Will Ferrell moment. He's being his goofy, larger-than-life self, trying to understand the intricacies of betting on horses, while Harper is just laughing at him the whole time. It's a nice reminder that, despite the heavy themes the documentary tackles, these are two people who genuinely enjoy each other's company. Their friendship is at the heart of this film, and it's what makes more serious moments hit even harder.
Yes, exactly. The balance between humor and heart is what makes Will and Harper so effective. 1 minute you're laughing at Will's antics, and the next minute you're hit with this deeply emotional moment where Harper is reflecting on her journey as a trans woman. And it's all done so naturally. I mean, there's no forced sentimentality. It's just two friends on a road trip talking about life, identity, and everything in between.
And the film really leans into the idea of America as this vast, diverse, and sometimes contradictory place. As they travel from the East Coast to the West Coast, you see how different regions of the country react to Harper's presence. Some places are welcoming and warm, while others are more standoffish or even hostile. The documentary does such a great job of capturing the full spectrum of reactions. There's no single narrative about America in Will and Harper. It's full of contradictions and complexity, And as Harper moves through these spaces, she has to navigate those contradictions in real time. It's exhausting, but also eye-opening.
Totally. And there's one moment in particular that really stuck with me. It's when they're in a small rural town and they walk into a local dive bar. You can feel the tension the moment they step inside. Harper is visibly apprehensive, and Will, who usually thrives in these kinds of settings with his larger-than-life persona, seems a bit on edge as well. It's one of those moments where you can see both of them reading the room, trying to figure out what kind of reception they're going to get. But then something really unexpected happens. A couple of locals strike up a conversation with Harper, and it turns into this warm, genuine exchange. It's a reminder that even in places where you might expect hostility, there's still potential for connection and understanding.
Yes, that scene was so powerful because it challenges the audience's own assumptions about rural America. The film doesn't shy away from showing moments of discomfort or fear, but it also doesn't paint these places as one-dimensional. Instead, it shows that there are layers to every place and every person, and sometimes those layers reveal surprising kindness or curiosity. It's a reminder that you can't judge an entire place or group of people based on stereotypes.
Yeah, exactly. And what's even more striking is how Harper handles those situations. She's open, she's patient, she's willing to engage with people even when she's not sure how they'll react to her. That kind of courage is just remarkable. And it's something that really stood out to me throughout the film. Harper isn't just on this road trip for fun. She's confronting her own fears and vulnerabilities in a very real way. And she's doing it with an incredible amount of grace and strength.
Absolutely. Harper's resilience is one of the most inspiring aspects of the film. She's navigating a world that often isn't designed to accommodate or accept people like her. But she does it with such authenticity. And you can see how much she's grown throughout the trip. By the end, there's this sense that she's not only more comfortable in her own skin, but also more confident in how she presents herself to the world. And a big part of that comes from her friendship with Will. He's there to support her, to listen, and to stand by her, even in moments when he might not fully understand what she's going through.
Oh, dude, that is such an important point, Lisa. Will's role in Harper's journey is so much more than just being a supportive friend. He's also learning from her. There's this great scene towards the end of the film where Will reflects on how much he's grown from being on this trip with Harper. He talks about how it's opened his eyes to experiences he's never fully understood before, and how grateful he is for the opportunity to learn from Harper's perspective. It's a really heartfelt moment, and you can tell that Will's growth as a person is just as significant as Harper's journey.
And that's what makes Will and Harper so much more than just a road movie or a buddy documentary. It's about growth and understanding and how relationships can change us in profound ways. Both Will and Harper are on this journey of self-discovery, and they're doing it together. It's not just one person supporting the other. It's a reciprocal relationship where both of them are learning and growing. That's what makes their friendship so special.
Exactly. And what I love about this documentary is that it doesn't try to give us easy answers. It doesn't wrap everything up neatly or try to offer some kind of definitive statement about identity or acceptance. Instead, it shows that these conversations are ongoing and growth is a continual process. There's always more to learn, more to understand, and more ways to show up for the people we care about.
Yes, and the film's open-endedness is one of its greatest strengths. It acknowledges that Harper's journey is far from over, and it leaves room for the audience to reflect on their own experiences and relationships. The road trip might come to an end, but the conversations and the lessons continue long after the credits roll.
And that, right there, that's why Will and Harper feels so relevant right now. We live in a time when these conversations about identity, visibility, and allyship are more important than ever. This film isn't just a snapshot of two friends on a road trip. It's a call to action for all of us to be more empathetic, more open-minded, and more willing to engage with the experiences of others. It challenges us to look beyond our own bubbles and to recognize the humanity in people whose lives may look very different from our own.
Absolutely. And I think that's what makes Will and Harper such an important film. It's not just about Harper's journey as a trans woman. It's about the journey we're all on to become more understanding, compassionate, and accepting of one another. It's about recognizing that we all have a role to play in making the world a more inclusive and empathetic place.
Yeah. I couldn't agree more, Lisa. The film is a reminder that allyship is an ongoing process, and it's something we can all strive to do better at. Whether it's showing up for our friends, listening to their experiences, or challenging our own assumptions, there's always room to grow. And that's what Will and Harper does so beautifully. It shows us that growth is possible and that it's something we can achieve together.
Yes, and the way the film uses the road trip as a metaphor for that growth is so effective. The journey across America, with all its ups and downs, mirrors the emotional and personal journeys that Will and Harper are on. It's a reminder that growth is often messy and unpredictable, but it's also full of moments of joy, connection, and discovery.
Yeah, absolutely. The road trip serves as the perfect backdrop for these conversations because it's inherently about movement and change. As they travel through different regions of the country, you can see how their relationship evolves, how they've both become more comfortable in their own skin, and how they begin to see the world through each other's eyes. It's a beautiful progression, and by the time they reach the West Coast, you get the sense that they've both been transformed by the experience.
Totally, and that transformation isn't just about personal growth. It's also about how they see the world and the people they encounter along the way. The film doesn't shy away from showing moments of tension or discomfort, but it also highlights the potential for connection and understanding, even in the most unexpected places. It's a reminder that people are often more open and accepting than we give them credit for.
I love that point. The film really challenges the audience to think about their own assumptions and biases. It's easy to look at certain parts of the country and make judgments about how people will react to someone like Harper, but the documentary shows us that those assumptions aren't always accurate, right? There's so much more complexity to people than what we see on the surface. And Will and Harper does a great job of highlighting that.
Exactly, and I think that's one of the film's most powerful messages. This idea that we have to give people the opportunity to surprise us. Yes, there are moments of discomfort and fear, but there are also moments of genuine connection and kindness. And those moments are what give the film its heart.
Oh, totally. And it's also a reminder that being an ally doesn't mean you have to have all the answers or that you'll always get it right. What matters is that you're willing to show up, listen, and to learn. Will doesn't always know what to say or how to navigate certain situations, but he's there for Harper, and he's constantly trying to understand her experience. That's what true allyship looks like, right? It's about being present and being willing to engage with the hard stuff.
Exactly. And the film does such a great job of showing that allyship isn't just about standing up for someone in big dramatic moments. It's about the small, everyday acts of support and understanding. It's about being there when your friend needs to talk, about creating space for them to be themselves, and about challenging your own assumptions and biases. Will and Harper's friendship is such a beautiful example of that.
Yep, I couldn't agree more. Will and Harper is such a powerful reminder that true friendship and allyship are about showing up, even when it's uncomfortable, even when you don't have all the answers. It's about being willing to learn, to grow, and to stand by the people you care about. And I think that's a message that will resonate with so many people.
Absolutely. This is the kind of film that sparks reflection and conversation. And I think it's going to stay with viewers long after they've watched it. It's funny, it's heartfelt, and it's deeply thought-provoking. If you haven't seen Will and Harper yet, I highly recommend checking it out.
Yes, definitely. It's a film that challenges you to think about how you show up for the people in your life and how you can be a better ally and friend. It doesn't matter if you're in the same room or on the other side of the country. The lesson that Will and Harper teaches us apply everywhere. It's about being international with your support. It's not just in grand gestures, but in the everyday, smaller moments where it matters most.
Yes, and the beauty of this film is that it's not just about Harper's identity journey as a trans woman. It's about the universal themes of vulnerability, fear, resilience, and growth. We've all had moments where we felt out of place or scared to show our true selves. And that's what makes Harper's story resonate so deeply. She's navigating these fears in real time on this trip, but it's something we can all relate to in different ways.
Yes, Lisa, absolutely. And what stuck with me is how much this film is also about finding your tribe, those people who will stand by you, celebrate your wins, and sit with you through the tough moments. Harper has that with Will, and it's something that everyone deserves in their own lives. The road trip becomes like a metaphor for the journey to self-acceptance, but it also becomes a testament to the power of having someone by your side through it all.
Yes, and I think the road trip itself speaks to something quintessentially American, a journey of discovery, both externally and internally. America is often depicted as this vast, complex, and contradictory place. And Will and Harper doesn't shy away from that. They drive through towns that might not immediately seem welcoming, but those towns and the people they meet challenge our preconceived notions. It's this idea that America, like people, is not a monolith. There are places of kindness and places of tension, and they're often existing side by side.
Exactly. The film doesn't give us a simplistic view of America. It shows us a layered, sometimes contradictory landscape where progress and prejudice can coexist. And Harper's journey through these spaces becomes a way to explore that complexity. There's this constant tension between visibility and invisibility, between being seen and being truly understood. For Will, being seen means being recognized and celebrated as a celebrity. But for Harper, it's about something much more vulnerable, being seen as her true self and navigating the reactions of others.
Right, and there's that beautiful contrast between Will's fame, which almost shields him in public spaces, and Harper's experience of being scrutinized for who she is. The way these two realities play off each other creates such a poignant dynamic. Will is used to being loved for who people think he is, while Harper is navigating the fear and anticipation of how people will react to her as a trans woman. But what's remarkable is how Harper never loses her sense of self, and how Will, despite his fame, is constantly trying to grow and learn from her.
Yeah, and I love that you can see Will evolving through the trip. He starts the road trip with the best of intentions, but it's clear that by the end, he's learned so much more about Harper's experiences, about America, and about his own role in being an ally. There's that scene toward the end of the film where Will reflects on how much the trip has changed him, and you can see it's not just a surface-level realization. He's really absorbed everything Harper has shared with him, and he's committing to being a better friend and ally because of it.
That scene really hit home for me because it wasn't just about Will learning from Harper in some didactic way. It was about true, heartfelt transformation. You see the emotional labor that Harper has put into explaining her world, and you see how Will is genuinely changed by it. It's not a one-sided dynamic where Harper is doing all of the teaching, though. Will is also giving Harper the space to be herself and to express what she's going through without judgment. It's a reciprocal, mutually respectful relationship.
Yeah, that is so true. And it's something that's often missing from films that deal with allyship. This idea that being a good friend or ally isn't about saving or helping somebody. It's about standing alongside them, making space for their voice, and showing up when it matters. Will doesn't try to fix Harper's problems or act like he knows all the answers. He just shows up, listens, and is there for her in whatever way she needs him to be.
Yes, and I think that's what makes Will and Harper such a compelling and relatable documentary. It's not trying to present a perfect friendship or an easy solution to complex issues. Instead, it shows the messiness of real relationships, the misunderstandings, the uncomfortable moments, the growth that happens when you commit to being there for someone even when you don't know exactly what to say. That's what makes this film feel so authentic.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's also what makes it such a powerful tool for starting conversations. This film isn't just something you watch and forget about, it stays with you. It makes you think about your own relationships and how you show up for the people in your life. It makes you reflect on the ways you can be a better ally, a better friend, a better listener. And that's the kind of impact that not many films have.
Exactly. It sparks those important conversations about identity, visibility, and empathy. But it does so in a way that feels accessible. It's not preachy or overly academic. It's real, it's funny, it's moving. And that's why it's going to resonate with such a wide audience. Whether you're someone who's navigating their own identity or someone who's trying to be a better ally, there's something in this film for everyone.
Well said, Lisa. Will and Harper is definitely one of those rare films that can make you laugh one moment and reflect deeply the next. It's a beautiful testament to the power of friendship and the journey of growth that we all go through, whether it's figuring out our own identities or learning how to support the people we care about.
Absolutely. So if you haven't seen Will and Harper yet, go watch it. It's thought-provoking, it's funny, and it's full of heart. It's the kind of film that will make you feel more connected to the world and the people around you. And honestly, we could all use a little more of that right now.
Couldn't agree more. Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thank you all for tuning in to this deep dive into Will and Harper. As always, we love hearing from you, so if you've seen the film, let us know what you thought. And don't forget to join us next time for another great discussion on the films and stories that shape our lives.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next time. And remember, true friendship is all about showing up, even when it's hard. And the best way to learn is to listen with an open heart.
Take care, everyone.
This has been The Real Debrief. We hope you've enjoyed the show. If you did, like, rate, and review. We'll see you soon on The Real Debrief.